So our today topic is Indian polity, Lakshmikant books. So fundamental rights. So पूरी की पूरी टॉपिक हम डिस्कस करेंगे. लॉन्ग वीडियो होगा क्योंकि मेरा रिवीजन चल रहा है. किसी को होगा देखना है तो देख सकते हैं. मैं रीडिंग पढ़ूंगा खुद ही क्योंकि मुझे रीडिंग पढ़ने से ही मुझे याद होते हैं कि कहाँ से आ रहा है और मेरा पूरा टॉपिक भी पढ़ा हो जाता है और रिवीजन भी हो जाता है इसीलिए. सो फर्स्ट इज our fundamental rights. The fundamental rights are enshrined in part 3. So part 3 is the fundamental rights of the constitution from article 12 to 35. Fundamental rights article 12 to 35, it is part 3. So it is enshrined in part 3. Okay, and in this regard the premise of the constitution derived inspiration from Constitution of USA. So where it derives from? It derives from USA, Constitution of USA Bill of Rights. So part 3 of the Constitution rightly described as the Magna Carta of India. So part 3 of the Constitution is rightly described as the Magna Carta of India, and what part 3 called? It is Magna Carta. Please remember. And it contains very long and comprehensive list of justiciable and justiciable fundamental rights, because it contains very long comprehensive list of justiciable fundamental rights. So it contains a very long and comprehensive list of justiciable fundamental rights. In fact, the fundamental rights in our constitution are very elaborate. So in our constitution, fundamental rights are more. Fundamental rights is the most elaborate than those found in the constitution of any other country. Okay, it is more elaborate, our constitution, and than any other constitution in the world, including USA. Okay, and the fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution to all persons without any discrimination. The fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution to all persons without any discrimination. So fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution of all persons without any discrimination. We can see without any discrimination. So all persons are equal here. It's who guaranteed it? It is our fundamental rights guaranteed that all persons without any discrimination. They uphold equality of all individual, dignity of an individual, the larger public interest and unity of the nation. So the fundamental rights are guaranteed by the constitution to all persons without any discrimination. We discussed, and they uphold the equality of all individuals, the dignity of the individual, the larger public interest and unity of the nation. So here it uphold equality of all individual. Here equality is important, and the dignity of the individual. And ED, please remember, ED means equality and dignity, okay, of all of the individual, and the larger public interest and unity of the nation. The larger public interest and the unity of the nation. The fundamental rights are meant to promoting the ideal of justice, political democracy. So fundamental rights are meant for promoting ideal of political and democracy, ideal political democracy. So it is, if question comes that the fundamental rights are meant for promoting political democracy, yes, it is correct. It is mainly ideal for political democracy, and the prevent the establishment of an authoritarian and despotic rule in the country. So the fundamental rights are guaranteed. Here you can see guaranteed by the constitution to all persons. So here political democracy is the important, and the prevent the establishment of an authoritarian and despotic rule in the country, and protect the liberties and freedom of the people against the invasion by the states. So fundamental rights protect liberties and freedom of the people against the invasion by the state. They operate as limitation on the tyranny of the executive and arbitrary laws. So here fundamental rights operate as limitation on the tyranny tyranny operate as limitation on the tyranny of the executive and arbitrary laws of the legislature. In short, they aim at establishing the constitution. They aim at establishing a government of laws, and not of man. So government of law. So what is the actual aim of the fundamental rights? Its aims is to establish a government of law, not of man. So all are working with the law. Okay, the fundamental rights are named so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution. The fundamental rights are named so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution. So fundamental rights जो है are named and so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution. So please remember. So they guaranteed us and they protected by the constitution, which is the fundamental laws of the land. They are fundamental also in the same that they are most essential for the all-round development. The fundamental rights mainly are named so because they are guaranteed and protected by the constitution, which is fundamental law of the land. They are fundamental so also in the sense that they are most essential for the all-round development. So why it is fundamental? Because in the sense that it is there is most essential for all round development. There is most essential for all round development. What is all round development? All round development means your material, intellectual, spiritual, moral of the individual. So here fundamental rights are also fundamental because they are essential, most essential for the all round development, material, intellectual, moral and spiritual of the individual. So here is some important article we seen. So originally the constitution provides the seven fundamental rights. Originally constitution provides seven fundamental rights. Some of are like equality, right to equality, article 14 to 18, right to freedom, article 19 to 22, right against exploitation, article 23 to 24, and right to freedom and of religion, article 25 to 28. And right to freedom of religion. So right to freedom of religion, it is 25 to 28, and right against exploitation, 23 to 24. Right to freedom 19 to 22. Right to equality, it is 14 to 18. And cultural and educational rights, it is 29 to 30, and property and right to property, it is article 31, and right to constitutional remedies, it is article 32. Please remember, however, the right to property was deleted from the list of the fundamental rights. So which article was deleted? Okay, from fundamental rights of the by the 44th Amendment Act of 1970, it is article 31, right to property. The right to property was deleted from the list of the fundamental rights by the what Amendment Act, which is 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Please remember. And here constitutional remedies, article 32, right to constitutional remedies, it is important article. And right to equality, it is article 14 to 18, and right to freedom, it is 19 to 22, and right against exploitation, article 23 to 24. Please remember. Freedom, only right to freedom of religion, it is mainly article 25 to 28, 24, 23 to 25 to 28, it is right to freedom of religion. And cultural and educational rights, it is 29 to 30. However, right to freedom of property was deleted from the list of the fundamental rights by the 44th Amendment Act of 1978. It is made a legal rights under the Article 300A. Okay, please remember, it is made a legal right under Article 300A in the part 12 of the Constitution. So at present there are only 6 fundamental rights. So because right to property was deleted by the 44th Amendment Act of 1978, so if it is deleted, then are 6 now. Before it is 7. Okay, so it is made legal rights under the Article 300A in part 12 of the Constitution. So at present there are only 6 fundamental rights. So features of the constitution. So feature of the fundamental rights. Feature of the fundamental rights. So the fundamental rights guaranteed by the constitution are characterized by the following. So some of them are available only to the citizens, while others are available to all persons, whether citizens, foreigners, or legal persons like corporations or companies, etc. So here you can see the fundamentals. So what are the features of the fundamental rights? So mainly first is some of the fundamental rights. Mainly some of the fundamental rights are available to only the citizens, while others are available to all the person, whether he or she is the citizens or foreigners or legal persons like corporations, companies, etc. So here you can see, so some are available only to citizens, and while others are available to all the persons, whether citizens, foreigners, or legal persons like corporations or companies. And others features like they are not absolute but qualified. Some of the fundamental rights are not absolute but qualified. The state can impose reasonable restriction on them. However, whether such restrictions are reasonable or not is to be decided by the courts. So however, whether such restrictions are reasonable or not is to be decided by the courts. Thus, they strike a balance between the rights of the individual and those of the society as a whole, between individual liberty and social control. So please remember, so they are not absolute but qualified. The state can impose reasonable restrictions on them. However, whether such restrictions are reasonable or not is to be decided by the court. Please, fundamental rights are, so they are not absolute but qualified. So if question comes that fundamental rights are not absolute but qualified, yes, it is correct, because the state can impose. The state can impose reasonable restriction on them. However, whether such restriction, so state can impose reasonable restriction here, and however whether such restrictions are reasonable or not, whether such restrictions are reasonable or not, so it is decided by the courts. Okay, and thus they strike a balance between the rights of the individual and those of the society as a whole. So they strike a balance between the rights of the individual and those of the society as a whole, between individual liberty and social control. Most of them are available against the arbitrary action of the state, with a few exceptions, like those against the state action and against the action of private individuals. Most of them are available against the arbitrary action of the state, with a few exceptions, like those against the state action and against the action of private individuals. So most of them are against the arbitrary actions of the state, with a few exceptions, like those against the state actions and against the actions of private individual. So please remember, here fundamental rights are available against the arbitrary action of the states. It is against, and with a few exceptions. But here a few exceptions you can see. Arbitrary action here, please remember, and with a few exceptions, like those against the state actions and the actions of private individuals, when the rights that are available against the state's action only are violated by the private individuals. There are no constitutional remedies but only ordinary legal remedies. Though there are no constitutional remedies but only original legal remedies, here you can see, and some of them, most of them, so here will be like against arbitrary action of the state, with a few exceptions, like those against the state actions and that are available against the state action only, or are violated by the private individuals. There are no constitutional remedies but only ordinary legal remedies. Some of them are negative in character. Some of the fundamental rights are negative in character, that is, they place limitations on the authority of the states, while others are positive in nature. Some of them are negative in character, that is, place limitations on the authority of the states, while others are positives in nature, conferring certain privileges on the persons. So some of them are negative in character, that is, place limitations on the authority of the states, while others are positive in nature. Some of them are negative in character, and that is, place limitations on the authority of the state, while others are positive in nature, conferring certain privileges on the persons. So please remember, some of them are negative in character, that is place limitation on the authority of the states, while others are positive in nature. So some of them are negative and some of them are positive in nature, conferring certain privileges on the person. And next is 5. They are justiciable, allowing persons to move the court. So they are justiciable. Fundamental rights are justiciable because it's allowing person to move the court. And so justiciable means it's mainly allowing the person to move the court for their enforcement if and when they are violated, when they are violated. So 6 is they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. Hence, the aggrieved person can directly go to the Supreme Court, not necessarily by the way of appeal against the judgment of the high courts. So here mainly, so they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. So here you can see, so they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. Here whose guarantee it is? Here Supreme Court's guarantee. And hence the aggrieved person can directly. Aggrieved person means any person can go directly to the Supreme Court, not necessarily by the way of appealing. How do they appeal? It's not important. So here you can, so not necessarily by way of appeal against the judgment of the high courts. They are not sacrosanct or permanent. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them. They are not sacrosanct or permanent. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them, but only by a Constitutional Amendment Act. They are not sacrosanct or permanent. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them, but only a Constitutional Amendment Acts, and can by and not by an ordinary act. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them, but only by a Constitutional Amendment Act, and not by an ordinary act. Moreover, this can be done without affecting the basic structure of the Constitution. So they are not sacrosanct. If question comes that fundamental rights are sacrosanct, yes, no, it is wrong. So they are not sacrosanct or permanent. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them, but only by a Constitutional Amendment Act. So Parliament can curtail them, and but only by a Constitutional Amendment Act, not by an ordinary act. So it is only by a Constitutional Amendment Act, not by an ordinary act. Moreover, this can be done without affecting the basic structure of the Constitution. Moreover, this can be done. How to be done? So this can be done without affecting the basic structure of the Constitution. The amendability of the fundamental rights is explained in the detail in chapter 11. Here you can see after chapter 11. So moreover, this can be done without affecting the basic structure of the Constitution. Okay. So others are characteristic of features of the fundamental rights are like they are so here it is they can be suspended during the operation of national emergency. So this time we can suspend fundamental rights during national emergency except the rights guaranteed by the Article 20 or 21. So we can suspend during the national emergency time except the rights guaranteed by Article 20 or 21, except the right guaranteed by Article 20 or 21. And further, the 6 rights guaranteed by Article 19, 6 rights guaranteed by the Article 19 can be suspended only when a emergency is declared. So say Article 19 can be we can suspended, okay, only when the emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, that is external emergency, and not on the ground of the armed rebellion, not armed rebellion time. It is mainly when external aggression or external emergency this time. Okay, so it is suspended. It can be suspended, and not on the ground of the armed rebellion. Okay, please remember, the suspension of fundamental rights during the national emergency is explained in detail. Okay, chapter 16. Okay. Our other features of the fundamental rights are like their scope 9. Their scope is of operation is limited by Article 31A. So their scope is limitation by the Article 31A, saying of saving of laws, providing for acquisition of estates, etc. So their scope, fundamental rights scope, here you can see is limited by the Article 31A, saving of law. Article 31A, what is Article 31A? Article 31A means saving of laws, providing for acquisition of estates, saving of laws and providing for the acquisition of estates. Article 31B, violation of the certain acts and regulation. Article 31A and 31B. 31A is the saving of laws providing for the acquisition of estates, and Article 31B, validation of the certain rights, certain acts and regulations included in the 99th schedule. Article 31C, saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principle, and their application about 10 is so here is 31B, 31C, 31A, 31B, 31C. 31A, saving of laws providing for the acquisition of estates, and 31B, validation of certain acts and regulations included in the 9th schedule. Okay, so 31B, 9th schedule, and 31C, saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principles. So the 10 is their application, fundamental rights, their application in the fundamental rights, their application to the members of the armed force, paramilitary force, and police force, intelligence agencies, and analogous service can be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament. Article 33. So their application to the members of the armed force, paramilitary forces, police forces, intelligence agencies, and analogous services can be restricted or abrogated by the intelligence agency and analogous service can be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament. Article 33. Their application can be restricted while martial law is in force. So here you can see in Article 33 is mainly their application, mainly fundamental rights application. Their to the members of the armed force, paramilitary force, or police or intelligence agencies or analogous services can be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament. It is restricted. Who restricted? It is restricted or abrogated by the Parliament. And 11, it is their application can be restricted while martial law is in force. In any area, martial law means military law. Martial law means military law. It is restricted. Their application can be restricted when martial law, military rule is in force in any area. Martial law means military rule imposed when abnormal circumstances to restore order. Article 34. It is different from the imposition of the national emergency. It is different from the imposition of the national emergency. Please remember, it is and most 12 is the most of them are directly enforceable, self-executory. Most of them are directly enforceable, mainly self-executory. So please remember, most of them are directly enforceable or self-executory, and while a few of them can be enforced by the basis of the law made for giving effect to them. So most of them are directly enforceable or self-executory, while a few of them can be enforced by the enforced on the basic of the law made for giving effect to them. So fundamental rights are directly enforceable or self-executory, while a few of them can be enforced on the basis of the law, on the basis of a law made for giving effect to them. Such a law can be made only by the Parliament and not by the state legislature. So it is made by the Parliament, not by the state legislature. So that uniformity throughout the country is maintained. Article is maintained in Article 35. It is, please remember. So we just discuss here fundamental rights. What is fundamental rights, and it is come under part 3. Article 12 to 35 is important. We are taking its from introduction of BSA, and part 3 is important. It is rightly described as the Magna Carta, and it contains very long and comprehensive list of justiciable fundamental rights. Here you can see. And here all persons are equal, there without any discrimination within. Okay, equality of individuals, here equality of dignity. Okay, and public interest, larger public interest of the and unity of nation important. Okay, and fundamental rights mean promoting ideal of political democracy is important, and they prevent an establishment of an authoritarian and despotic rule in the country. They protect and liberties, freedom, etc. Against by the invasion by the state, and they offer a limitation of tyranny. Okay, executive and arbitrary laws of the legislature. Okay, so their aim is to provide a government of laws, not to men. The fundamental rights are named so because they are guaranteed and protected the Constitution, which is the fundamental laws of the land. The fundamental also in the sense that they are most essential for the all-round development. They are essential for the all-round development, material, intellectual, moral, or spiritual of the individual. Also, originally here you can see in original the Constitution provides 7 fundamental rights. The right to equality, Article 14 to 18, and right to freedom, Article 19 to 22. Please remember, important. And Article right to freedom, right against exploitation, Article 23 to 24, and right to freedom of religion, 25 to 28. Please remember, and cultural and education rights, 29 to 30, and right to property, Article 31, and right to constitutional remedy, Article 32. However, the right to property was deleted by the 44th Amendment Act of 1978. When it is deleted, it is 44th Amendment Act of 1978. It's made a legal right under the Article 300A. It's made a legal right. It is mainly in Article 300A and in Part 12 of the Constitution. So at present there are only six fundamental rights. Okay, and the fundamental rights are granted. So we have some of the features of the fundamental rights here you can see. So some of the features like some are available to the only citizens, and some of them are available only to the so it is available to the foreigners or all the person of citizens, okay, including foreigners, illegal persons, okay. And second is they are not absolute but qualified, okay. The state can reasonable restriction on them, however whether such restrictions are reasonable or not to be decided by the court. They strike a balance between the rights of the individuals and those of the society as a whole. This here balance is important between the individual liberty and social control. And most of them are available against the arbitrary action of the state, with a few exceptions like those against the state actions. When the rights are available, the rights that are available against the state's action. Its action only are violated by the private individuals. They are so constitutional remedies, but only ordinary legal remedies. Some of them are negative in character. Please remember, some of them are negative in character in place of limitations on the authority of the states. Okay, while others are positive in nature. Some of them negative and some are positive, conferring certain privileges of the person. They are justiciable, allowing persons to move to the court for their enforcement, if and when they are violated. So here they are justiciable, allowing persons to move the court for their enforcement if and when they are violated. They are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. So they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. Hence the aggrieved person. Since the aggrieved person can directly go to the Supreme Court, not necessarily by the appeal, by way of appeal against the judgment of the High Courts. They are not. So here they are defended and guaranteed by the Supreme Court. Please remember, they are not sacrosanct or permanent. The Parliament can curtail or repeal them, but only by a constitutional amendment act, not by an ordinary act. Please remember. And 8 is that they can be suspended during the time of war and during the operation of the national emergency, except the right guaranteed by the Article 22 and 21. For the six rights, Article 19 guaranteed by the Article 19 can be suspended only when the emergency is declared on the grounds of the war or external emergency. This time Article 19 can be suspended, okay, and not on the ground of armed rebellion, not internal emergency. This time is not to suspend Article 19. Article 9 their scope of operation is limited by Article 31A, serving of laws providing for acquisition of states, and Article 31B provide validation of the certain acts and regulations, including 9th schedule, Article 31A, 31B, and 31C. 31C is having of laws giving effect to certain directive principles there, and 10 is their application to the members of armed force, paramilitary forces, police force, intelligence agencies. Okay, so this time, intelligence and analogous services can be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament. Article 33. Their application 11. Their application can be restricted while martial law is in force in any area. Martial law means military law. Okay, so please remember. And here imposed under the abnormal circumstances to restore order. Article 34. It is different from the imposition of the national emergency. Most of them are directly enforceable, self-executory, while few of them can be enforced on the basis of a law made for giving effect to them. Such a law can be made only by the Parliament and not by the state legislature, so that uniformity throughout the country is maintained. Article 35. Article 30, uniformity throughout the country is maintained under Article 35. Most of them are directly enforceable, okay, while a few of them can be enforced on the basis of law made for giving effect to them. So next we discuss definition of states. So definition of state. The term state has been used in different provisions concerning the fundamental rights. So the term state, what is state? If question come, then you can tell that the state has been used in different provisions concerning the fundamental rights. Hence Article 12 has defined the term of the purpose of the part 3. Article 12 has defined the term. What Article 12 defined? So it is defined that the term for the purpose of part 3. What is the actual purpose of the part 3? It is described under Article 12. According to it, the state includes the following. What state includes? State includes the following. Like first is the government and parliament of India. Government or Parliament of India, that is the executive and legislative organ of the Union government. So if the question comes that which government is that is a parliament or government is one of the important part of the India, yes, and it is mainly executive and legislative organ of the Union government, yes, it is all are correct, okay, it is mainly executive and legislative organ, okay, of the Union government. Okay, B is the government and legislature of states. So government and legislature of the states means that is executive and legislative organs of state government. And 3 is all local authorities, that is municipalities, panchayats, district boards, and improvement trust, etc. All the local authorities, that is municipalities, panchayats, district boards, improvement trust, etc. Okay. All other authorities, that is statutory or non-statutory authorities like LIC, ONGC, SL. All other authorities like that is statutory or non-statutory authorities, that is LIC, ONGC, SL, etc. The state has been defined in a wider sense. State has been defined in a wider sense, so as to include all its agencies. It is the actions to those agencies that can be challenged in the courts by violating of the fundamental rights. So all other authorities, that is statutory or non-statutory authorities like LIC, ONGC, etc. All local authorities, that is municipalities, panchayats, district boards, improvement trust, etc. So what includes here? Article 12 defined the term of the purpose of the part 3. According to what is state here, state followings. State includes government and Parliament of India, that is executive and legislative organs, and government and legislature of the states, that is executive and legislative organs of the state government. All local authorities, that is municipality, panchayat, and district boards, improvement trust, okay, all local authorities, all are municipality, panchayat, and district boards, improvement trust, etc. All other authorities, that is the statutory and non-statutory authorities like LIC, ONGC, SAIL, etc. The state has been defined in the wider sense, so as to include here, okay, all the agencies. It is the actions of these agencies that can be challenged in the courts as violating the fundamental rights. The state has been defined in a wider sense, so as to include all the agencies. It is the actions of those agencies that can be challenged in the courts as violating the fundamental rights. So thus here you can see state has been defined in the wider sense of so as to include here all the agencies, all the agencies. It is the actions of those agencies that can be challenged in the courts as violating. We can use state as a wider sense, so as to include here all the agencies, like it is the actions of those agencies that can be challenged in the courts as violating the fundamental rights. According to the Supreme Court, even a private body of an agency, according to the Supreme Court, even a private body or an agency working as an instrument of the state falls within the meaning of the state who under Article 12 Supreme Court. According to Supreme Court, even a private body or an agency working as an instrument of the state fall within the meaning of state under Article 12. Next, a law inconsistent with fundamental rights. So Article 13 here you can see in Article 12, here is state meaning, what is actual meanings we discuss, but Article 13 here now we discuss laws inconsistent with fundamental rights. So next discuss a law inconsistent with fundamental rights. So Article 13 declares that all the laws that is inconsistent with or in derogation of any of the fundamental rights shall be void. So it is Article 13 which declares that all the persons that are inconsistent with or in derogation with of any of the fundamental rights shall be void. In other words, it expressively provides for the doctrine of the judicial review. In other words, it exclusively provides for the doctrine of the judicial review. This power has been conferred on the Supreme Court Article 32 and the High Court Article 2026 that can declare a law unconstitutional. Article 32 for Supreme Court and Article 2026 for the High Court that can be declared a law unconstitutional and invalid on the grounds of the contravention of any of the fundamental rights. Here the term law in Article 13 has been given. Here a law in Article 13 has been given a wider connotation so as to include the following. The term law in Article 13 has been given a wide connotation so as to include the following: permanent laws enactment by the Parliament or the state legislature. Permanent laws enactment by the here Article 13 given wide connotation so as to include here. So permanent laws in enactment by the Parliament. Permanent law mainly here enactment by the Parliament or the state legislature. And first is permanent law, second is temporary law. The temporary laws like ordinances issued by the president or the state governments, so governors by the president or the state governors, temporary law. And three is the statutory instruments in the nature of delegated legislation. So statutory instruments in the nature of delegated legislation, executive legislation like order, by law, rule, regulation, or notification. Okay, so it is mainly statutory instrument. The statutory instruments in the nature of delegated in legislation, executive legislation like order, by law, rule, regulation, and notification, and non-legislative sources of law, that is custom or usage having the force of law. So statutory instrument in the nature of delegated legislation and executive legislation like order, by law, and rule, regulation, or notification. This is the non-legislative source of law. So non-legislative sources of law, that is customs or usage having the force of law. So thus so here you can see non-legislative sources of law. Okay, that is custom or usage having the force of law. Thus not only legislative legislation but on any of the above can be challenged in the courts of the violating of the fundamental rights, and hence can be declared as void. So when you declare it's void, if any of the thus not only it is legislation but any of the above can be challenged in the courts of if the courts violating fundamental rights, then it can be declared void. Okay, so further Article 13 declares that a constitutional amendment is not a law and hence cannot be challenged. So Article 13 declares that a constitutional amendment is not a law and hence cannot be challenged. Article 13 here declares that if a constitutional amendment is not a law and hence constitutional and cannot be challenged. Article 13 declares that a constitutional amendment is not a law, hence cannot be challenged. However, the Supreme Court held in the case of Bharati case 1973 that a constitutional amendment act can be challenged on the ground that it violates the fundamental rights. So in the Article 13 declares constitutional amendment is not a law and hence cannot be challenged. Because it is not a constitutional amendment. Because the Article 13 declares that a constitutional amendment is not a law. It is not a law. Hence cannot be challenged. Okay, it's not a law. So, however, Supreme Court held in the Kesavananda Bharati case 1973, Kesavananda Bharati case in 1973. That a constitutional amendment can be challenged on the ground that it violates a fundamental rights that forms a part of the basic structure of the constitution, and hence it can be declared as void. So in the case of the Bharati case 1973, that a constitutional amendment can be challenged on the ground that it violates the fundamental rights that forms a part of the basic structure of the constitution, and hence can be declared as void. So in the case of the Bharati case, that is in the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court held in the case of the Bharati case 1973 that a constitutional amendment can be challenged on the ground that it violates the fundamental rights. Okay, that forms a part of the basic structure of the constitution, and hence it can be declared as void. So next our discussion is the fundamental rights at a glance. Some of the important articles to fundamental rights at a glance. So here Article 12, definition of the state. Definition of state, it is mainly Article 12, and it is mainly general. Here you can see in Article 12 here definition of states, and Article 13 where it is laws inconsistent with or in derogation of the fundamental rights. Article 13. So definition of state, it is Article 12, and laws inconsistent with or in derogation of the fundamental rights, it is Article 13. Article 14, equality before law. Article 14, equality before law, and Article 15, prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or the place of birth. So it is Article 15. And Article 14, it is equality before law, and Article 15, prohibition of prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Then Article 16, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. It is mainly Article 16. Article 16 mainly equality of opportunity in matters of the public employment, and Article 17 equality of abolition of untouchability, and Article 15 is the prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of race, caste, sex. Okay, so it is mainly, please remember. And here 16 is the equality of opportunity in matters of public employment, and Article 17 abolition of untouchability, Article 17, and abolition of titles, Article 18, and Article 16 equality of opportunity in matters of the public employment, and Article 15 prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of race, religion, caste, sex, and place of birth. Article 17 abolition of untouchability, Article 17 abolition of untouchability. Article 18 abolition of title. Okay, and right to freedom, it is right to equality, 14 to 18. Please remember. Okay, right to equality. Okay, so mainly please remember. And Article right to freedom. Right to freedom, protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech. Okay, etc. Article 19, protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, and Article 20, protection in respect of conviction for offence. That is Article 20. And Article 19, it is protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech. Protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech. Article 19. Okay, Article 20, protection in respect of conviction for offences. Article 20. And Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Article 21 and Article 20, it is protection in respect of conviction for offence. Protection in respect of conviction for offence. And Article 19, protection in certain rights regarding the freedom of speech and freedom of speech, etc. And Article 20, protection in respect of conviction for offences. And Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. Article 21. Article 21, right to education. Article 21A. Article 21, right to education, and Article 21, protection of life, personal liberty. Okay, personal liberty. Article 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. So Article 21 is right to education, and Article 21 protection of life and personal liberty, and Article 20 protection in the respect of conviction for offence, and Article 22 protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Okay, and Article 23 it is right against exploitation. Article 22, what is actually Article 22 protection against arrest and detention in certain cases, and Article 21 right to education, Article 21 protection of life and personal liberty, Article 20 protection in respect of conviction for offence, and 19 protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech. Article 19, please remember and revise again and again, important. Right against exploitation, right of traffic of in human beings and forced labor. Okay, it is Article 23, please remember, by prohibition of traffics in human beings and forced labor. Okay, and Article 24 prohibition of employment of children in factories, prohibition of employment in children in factories. In factories. Okay, Article 24 and Article 25, it is mainly right to education, right to freedom of religion, right to freedom of religion. Article 25 to 28. Okay, so 25 cultural right to freedom of religion. Article 25 freedom of conscience of free profession, freedom of conscience on free profession, free profession practice and propagation of religion, and Article 26 freedom of manage religious affairs, freedom to manage religious affairs. Article 27 freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Article 27 for freedom of freedom as to payment of taxes. Okay, and for promotion of any particular religion. Article 27 and Article 28 freedom as to attendance or religious instructions or religious worships in certain education institution. So freedom as to attendance at religious instruction or religious worships in certain education institution. Freedom as to attendance at religious instruction and or religious worships in certain education institution. And Article 27 freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. Okay. And Article 26 freedom of manage religious affairs. Please remember cultural and education rights. Article 29 protection of interest of minorities. Article 29 okay, cultural and education rights, protection of interest of minorities. Article 30 mainly right of minorities to establish or administer educational institutions. So right to minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. So here Article 29 to 31 so cultural educational rights. Article 29 protection of interest of minorities. Protection of interest of minorities. Please remember it is mainly Article 29 and 30 right of minorities to establish. So it is related to minorities mainly. Protection 29 it is protection of minorities, protection of interest of minorities, and 30 it is right of minorities to establish and administer educational institution. Article 30 and Article 31 compulsory acquisition of property. Compulsory acquisition of property it is repealed. It is Article 31 mainly. And next are saving of certain laws. Article 31A first, 31C, 31C, 31D. First is 31A. 31A is the saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates. It is mainly saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates. Article 31A, 31B validation of certain acts and regulation. Article 31B validation of certain acts and regulation. 31B validation of certain acts and regulation. It is Article 31B. Article 31C providing saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principles. So Article 31A saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates. 31B validation of certain acts and regulation. Validation of certain acts and regulation. Okay, so please remember validation of certain acts and regulation under Article 31B and Article 31C saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principles. 31C. 31D saving of laws in respect of international activities repealed. Article 31D saving of laws in respect of international activities. 31 is the saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates. Article 31B is the validation of certain acts and regulation. 31C saving of laws giving effect to certain directive principles. 31A, 31B, 31C, 31D. 31D mainly is saving of laws, anti-national activities in respect of anti-national activities. And 31A, it is mainly saving of laws providing for acquisition of estates, so acquisition for acquisition of estates. 31B, validation of certain acts and regulation, and 31C, saving of laws giving effect to certain related principle. Mainly saving of law. 31C. Here last right to constitutional remedies, article 32 to 35, right to constitutional remedies. 32 mainly so remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part, remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part. 31 to 32A, 32A, constitutional validity of state laws not to be considered in proceedings under article 32, repealed. So constitutional validity of state laws not to be considered in proceedings under article 32, repealed. And 32A is mainly, so 32 mainly remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part. 32A, constitutional validity of laws not to be considered in proceeding area under article 32. And 33, power of parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part in their application of forces. To modify the rights conferred by this part of their application into force. And article 34, restriction on rights conferred by this part while martial law is in force in any area. Article 35, legislation of to give effect to the provision on this part. Legislation to give effect to the provision of this part. Okay. And article 34, article restriction on rights conferred by this part while martial law is in force in any area. Okay. And 35, legislation to give effect to the provision of this part. 33, so parliament to modify rights conferred by this part on their application to forces. And article 32A, constitutional validity of the state laws not to be considered in proceedings under article 32, and it is repealed. And article 32 provides for remedies for enforcement of the rights conferred by this part. So just a study now, and next we discuss others. So next is fundamental rights at a glance. So article right to equality, article 14 to 18. So it is mainly category and consists of. So right to equality come under article 14 to 18. So article 14 is mainly equality before law and equal protection of law. And article 15 mainly prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place, and birth. Article 16 mainly equality of opportunity in matters of the public employment. And abolition of untouchability, it is mainly article 17. And article 18, and abolition of titles except military and academic. Right to freedom, it is mainly article 19 to 22. Article 19 means 6 rights regarding freedom of speech and expression, assembly, association, movement, residence, profession. It is mainly so residence, association, movement, profession, assembly, speech and expression. Okay. And protection in respect of conviction for offence, article 20. Protection of life and person. So protection in respect of conviction for offences, article 20. Article 21 is protection of lives and personal liberty. Article 21A for the right to elementary education. And article 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases, article 22. Right against exploitation, 23 to 24. 23 mainly prohibition of traffics in human beings and forced labor, article 23. Article 24, prohibition of employment of children in factories. Prohibition mainly article 24, prohibition of employment of children in factories. Next on article 25 to 8, it is mainly right to freedom of religion. First 25, freedom of conscience and free profession of practice and propagation of religion. And 26, freedom to manage religious affairs. 27, freedom of payment of taxes for the payment for the promotion of the any religion. 28, freedom from attending religious instruction or receive in certain educational institution. 29 to 30, it is cultural and educational rights. So protection of languages, script and culture of minorities, it is at 29. 30, right to minorities to administer educational institutions, article 30. And article 32, constitutional right to constitutional remedies. So right to remove the Supreme Court for the enforcement of the fundamental rights, including the rights of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, statutory quo warranto, article 32. So fundamental rights of foreigners. Fundamental rights of foreigners. So fundamental rights are only available to citizens, not to foreigners, and fundamental rights are available to both citizens and foreigners, except enemy aliens. So first is fundamental rights is only to citizens, not to the foreigners. Okay. So first we discuss what are actually come under fundamental rights, mainly only to the citizens, not to the foreigners. So article 15, article 16, article 14, article 15, 16 and 19, article 29 and article 30 are come under mainly article 15, 16, 19 and 29, 30. All are come under only for citizens, not for foreigners. And article 14, 20, 21a, 21a and 22, 23, 24, 25, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28, all are come under article it is all article related to fundamental rights, both citizens and foreigners, except enemy aliens. Okay, so please remember article 14, 20, 21, 21a, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, all are come under article 29 and 30 come under mainly only citizens. So please remember, okay, so the important here 15, 16, 19 and 29 and 30. 15, 16, 19, 29, 30 all are come under only citizens, and both citizens and foreigners it is come under mainly article 14, 20, 21, 21a, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, all are come under only, they are also come under only both citizens and foreigners. Please remember. Next we discuss right to equality. Okay.